promptly. Yeah, and this live will be also saved on our Instagram and also on other social media channels, so you can always rewatch it later. So yeah, thank you very much for joining us tonight for this Call for Curators members quiz. Tonight with us we have Julia Hartmann, who we will find out about in this short session. So my name is Maria and I'm tonight's host. This is quite a new event format for us. So we introduce our members to our wider community here on Instagram and other social media. These events last around 10-15 minutes, so it's a very short format. And we'll be asking, it will have two parts. In the first one, we'll ask a few ABC pressing outward questions to Julia, and in the second one, we'll find out more about her practice, projects, and what she does. So yeah, this is moment where we introduce our members, and our membership scheme allows for extra opportunities on our website which are not normally visible, new networking opportunities, and digital art events. So feel free to check that out after our live. There's a link in our bio. And yeah, just now let me please introduce Julia a little bit more. So Julia Hartmann is an art historian and independent curator who works in the fields of transnational feminist and socio-political art at the intersection of digitalization, migration, surveillance, and social movements. Previously, she was a curatorial assistant at the Secession and assistant curator at the 21 Belvedere in Vienna. So yeah, how are you doing tonight, Julia? Thank you for being here.
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for the invite. I'm really happy to talk about my work today and maybe also engage with some of your members.
Great. So yeah, like I said, we're going to start with a few ABC questions just to warm up. Again, here comes the first one. Which exhibition element do you think has the most creative potential? Is it print, so just paper, labels or wall labels, or QR codes?
Oh, wow. I think some time ago I would have said labels because I think it's very important to have them for the visitors, you know, to explain works if they want to have more information. But lately I think QR codes are also getting more and more important for exhibitions, and especially I think everyone can save also a lot of paper on QR codes and just like access information through your mobile phone. I think that's a great new way.
Right, thank you. Yeah, my second question is about, I mean, it's going to be difficult to say probably, but what would you say is your favorite art medium? Would it be A, photography, B, the body, so perhaps in performance, and C, video?
That's also difficult. I think maybe the body is very interesting also lately, because there are very many queer and queer feminist artists who really you know, use the body in very interesting performances, and I've enjoyed them very much. And it also has a long tradition, of course, in feminist art history or in art history in general. So I think the body is a very interesting medium.
Right, thank you. The third question is about a place where you would like to curate an exhibition if you had a chance. And all of these three options are some of the largest, biggest museums in the world. So if you had a chance, where would you curate an exhibition? A is the Louvre, B is Art Institute of Chicago, and C is Victoria and Albert Museum.
Whew. I think I would say the Louvre, because I've always thought it's really exciting to intervene with collections. And I mean, needless to say, the Louvre is one of the biggest and greatest collections of art history. And so I think it would be really exciting to invite contemporary artists to do interventions there, and, you know, engage with the old works, and also challenge what they see there. Because I think nowadays we should also question more what, you know, like art history has produced, and see it in a new light. So I think that would be really exciting. I'm waiting for the call, actually.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's really, really crucial what you just said about kind of critical approaches to art history. Someone who also studied art history, that I think a lot of this criticality came afterwards. After I studied. And yeah, so that was a quick warm up. I hope you enjoyed some of the questions. I hope they weren't too random. And now I would like to start with questions about you and your practice. And you specialize in digitalization, feminist art, social movements. So these are I would like to ask you about all of these things through the past projects that you've done. And I would like to start with one that's relatively recent, that was created during COVID. It's the networks pitch for the social network sphere. That was an online project, and one element that was really inspiring to see was kind of your comparisons to, or kind of usages of architectural spaces like the Greek Agora or Panopticon. And it was an online project. So yeah, could you tell us a little bit more about it?
Yes, thank you for pointing out the things you liked about the show. That's the last point was also very exciting to me. Like you said, it was an online show, and maybe to start from where the project starts. So what happened during the first lockdown, I have to say, and no one knew really what was happening and how we could, curators and artists and cultural workers, could work from home, basically. So I and 5 other curators from Europe, we teamed up, and we applied for a European Cultural Fund, and we received money to really work on this project full time. And so we created an art and research center, all online. So it was Mozilla Hubs, and we could really create new worlds there. And yes, and each one of us had their own projects, and mine was the networks exhibition, basically. And it was the first time that I have ever really worked in the online sphere. So for me, it was a challenge, but also one that I tried to tackle by starting with the architecture, because in a normal white cube, you could not do what you can imagine or realize in the online world. So I started from the Panopticon that you already mentioned, because the exhibition in general talked about borders, solidarity, and how we can create a digital network sphere in times of crisis. And the crisis was, of course, at that time that the borders in the EU were shut. And moreover, already before, we had the so-called refugee crisis. And I wanted to talk about all these networks in different ways. So yeah, and so this exhibition came about, and yeah, so the Panopticon, of course, came also from the idea of the centralized architecture that you can observe everything around you. So it also was, of course, a hint towards surveillance systems. And yes, I think That
Yeah.
is the I think I need to cut it short. Sorry.
No, sorry. That's absolutely fine. Um, yeah, it was. Thinking about networks in the context of social mobility, and the lack of it that a lot of us who've never experienced it in our lives before experienced in COVID, is a very interesting take. Kind of the physical network that we have, but also the online and the digital sphere that, I think COVID, exemplified, like really showed how, sometimes in online infrastructures can be poor and, kind of insufficient for connection.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so thank you very much for sharing, this project with us. Um, you mentioned refugee crisis, and you mentioned, and your work is all kind of infused with, kind of the need for social change and social and commentary on social movements. And I was wondering if you could tell us about the project that is the, Apex Art, winner, and is going to launch in 2023, if I'm not mistaken. The My Pen Won't Break, but Borders Will. I read about it, and it's a really beautiful, touching project with, very strong stories in it. Could you tell us more about this?
Yeah, thank you. Yes, exactly. So the title actually comes from Pavana Amiri, and she's an Afghan refugee who came to the refugee camp in Moria in Greece in 2019. And I got to know her through the Networks exhibition that I just explained before, as I also invited her to participate in that show because she wrote a lot of letters from this refugee camp, and so they're really moving letters. And meeting her, I was really like amazed um, uh, at her resilience and activism, and so I was happy to include her in the show. And then so the show at Apex Art derives actually and is inspired by her story. And so, of course, I will also include her again in the at Apex Art. But then I also wanted to tell other stories of people seeking refuge, and asylum seekers, and also, personal stories of why people have to leave the country. And so, yeah, so I'm actually very humbled that I can do this project at Apex Art. Everyone who knows it and who's ever applied is probably not really ready to do that, because I think no one really expects to win. But now I'm super happy that I have the chance to work with Pavana and all the other artists and activists again in New York. And yes, and also one thing I want to do in New York is also to show the hope and the resilience that Pavana and other people show these days, and have to endure. And so I think that's also one big part why I'm really happy to do this project with her and others.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's, I kind of read some of these stories, and such an important project. So really, just thank you for persisting and submitting it to Apex Art. And, I really recommend everyone to, check out. I pinned a comment with, Julia's Instagram handle, and after this live, I really recommend everyone to check out, this project, and also all the other ones that we spoke and we will speak about. So the next one, the next project or series of projects that I want to ask you is, exhibitions called Search For. One that was called Search For Serendipity, and, as far as I know, it's a continuation of another exhibition. But what's kind of interesting to me in this series is, kind of starting with the word search, because searching is such an open-ended process. It's kind of, you know, an unfinished inquiry, a process of looking, but something that's, you know, that's something that can be returned to. And I wanted to ask you about the series and what role does searching play in your practice?
Yes, I mean, searching, of course, as a researcher and as a PhD candidate and a curator, you have to do a lot, not just online, but also in libraries and archives and everywhere you find, you know, interesting documents about artists. But the search for this exhibition series that I started in 2016, that was actually really literally meant for like the search bar on Google. So the subtitle is the more you search, the less you find, because I mean, back then in 2016, I think it wasn't such public knowledge that, you know, everything we do online gets tracked and traced, and, you know, the data gets sold, and the filter bubble, the coined by Eli Parisa was like a buzzword, and like really just like we were just learning about it, I think, or at least for me, it was like really influencing me. And so this was actually the first exhibition I did independently after leaving museums. And so the first one was called Search for Serendipity. So on serendipity, of course, is chance, encounters, and coincidence. And the thesis was that you lose this the more you search, because, you know, you get all this information back that the algorithm and the digitization thinks you want to know. So that was actually a small show, but for me it was really really exciting to do something independently, and I co-curated it with Magdalena Stöger back then. And then 4 years later, I had the chance to, you know, to implement the second round, so to say. And then I focused on feminism, so it was called Search for Feminism, and I co-curated it with Aline Resende. And together we looked at, you know, the misogyny and the racism that is produced online, especially, you know, through the data and the surveillance systems. So, of course, as you see, the practice got more and more, you know, political in my practice somehow. The more I learned and read and started my PhD, the more activist and feminist, especially my practice became. So yeah, and I'm actually working on the third iteration of that show, which is called hopefully Search for Justice. So it's really about human rights violations and issues with it online, and of course the surveillance system and all these problems we face and other people face online.
Thank you. You mentioned that your practice has become more feminist over time, or you become more interested in this area. So I would like to finish with one last question about the network SALOON. It's an international network for women, and yeah, I would like to ask you, what are its ambitions? You know, what does it do? How can someone join?
Yes, yeah, that the SALOON is also one big area of mine, so to say, that I'm working on. And the SALOON started in Berlin 10 years ago, actually, exactly 10 years ago, and was initiated by Tina Sauerländer. And it is a network for women identifying arts professionals. So everyone, curator, artists, journalists, designers, architects, you know, everyone who is in the fields of arts is welcome to join our network. Our approach is that we meet once per month, and together in Vienna, I run it with Aline Resende and Doris Richter, and together we host these monthly saloons, and we go to different institutions, museums, galleries, artists, and there we have first the dialogue, and we really give our members also the chance to have a look behind the scenes, so to say, and they can really also engage with we went to museum directors, you know, like established galleries, and of course it's interesting also to have these insights from them. So this is one part of the Saloon, but also of course the networking part. So we also have dinners together, and as you can imagine, for us it's important to not only show the, you know, what women power, so to say, lies in Vienna. So we have a website where all of our members have profiles. So it's all about representation on the one hand. So there's no more excuse that one didn't find, you know, like representatives for I don't know, an exhibition or public talk. And on the other hand, it's of course also about networking. So we really encourage our members, you know, to collaborate, to get to know each other, and also to get in touch with our saloon sisters. So we have in more than 10 cities, we have saloons now. So it's really growing into an international network. So this is also one big part of the whole project, that whenever one of us goes to one of the cities, they already have a network of people they can reach out to there. And I mean, I didn't mention it yet, but Saloon is also, of course, you know, a hint to the boys clubs that we're running behind the scenes, mostly for a long time. And I mean, we often get asked why, or if we still need these women's networks, and we always say yes, because things haven't changed that much yet. So we keep on doing it. And of course, it's also fun. It's not just work and struggle, even though it's a lot of struggle still. But yeah, with fun, I think everything is easier. And with a lot of interesting people working together, it's always more fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's an international web network, so people watching can check it out and see if there's a branch near them or somewhere where they're going. So please do that. When we repost that, we'll tag all these organizations in the post.
Thank you.
And yeah, thank you so much, Julia. This was my last question, and thank you so much for sharing with our audiences, of everyone here with us live and everyone who will be watching later. Really inspiring projects and your work. So thank you for tonight. Thank you to everyone who joined. And yes, we will be having another one, another CFC members quiz next week, next Monday, with Gustav Lindler. So we'll be announcing that shortly. And yeah, please check out the Call for Curators member scheme via the link in bio. It's free to try for the first week, so give it a go for free. And once again, thank you, Julia. And yeah, please check out Julia's work online. And yeah, please get in touch with us. So yeah, really a pleasure having you here tonight. Thank you, Julia, and thank you everyone who was watching. All right, we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you. Bye for now.